I just
Oh, it's
he's just
recording. What
standing
do you
really still.
know? We're all recording. That's amazing. Okay.
What?
It just started recording when I switched to this. And
Okay, and
you're getting my groovy photo instead of my
yeah,
video.
and you guys think this sounds okay?
It's good enough, yeah.
Yep.
Also, I do a little post-production, like I'll do a compression and then a kind of equalizer a little bit, and that tends to fix things a bit too.
Okay. Yeah, I feel bad, guys. I packed this microphone, and literally I was using it 15, 20 minutes ago to um to prep for this,
I
to make
I
it
had the
work. And then
same
when I
thing
opened,
happen two times, two Twilight Zones with Shar. I was at my workplace because I was waiting for a package, and I had brought my microphone and my iPad, and ended up just having to talk into my iPad. So yeah, that was the last time I had to do it. It was like May, I think,
right.
April or May.
Well, I tell you what, if you, I mean, I can go to my PC also. The reason I wasn't there on the first place is I don't have a charger with me. And, I don't know how much battery I'm going to get out of this thing. Probably enough for an hour, though.
That's up to you. But again, the iPad's not the worst. It sounds fine. It's just a little trebly, I
Okay.
guess. Is that what you say, Mark?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
doesn't sound any worse than Luke sounds on every single episode we've ever done.
Okay, I'll take that as a bit of confidence.
Very good.
Let me go here, here, there. I'm going to sign off for a second. I'll be right back,
Okay,
guys. Okay.
Cool.
because I had my see you in a bit. I had my crackle mic issue going on last year, if you remember, which I think was more like the computer, not the mic in the end. Like it was just the computer getting old and crappy was why I kept crackling out all the time.
Oh yeah, that can be a latency issue.
Yeah, so
There's something I forgot to put in these trivias.
and also yeah, when it's funny because when other people have audio glitches, I don't hear it so much. It's just like in my own, right? Probably for you too. Like you don't notice other people's little audio glitches as much as your own.
I do notice everything,
Yeah. Because
unfortunately.
there's been one or two recently where it's maybe even your voice had like a little crackle or the connect like there was a storm or something in Atlanta and it kind of bungled a few things here and there.
Yeah, well, there's some issues that I don't hear on my end because partly because I'm listening to myself directly through the what do you call it? Through the interface.
Mm-mm-mm.
So
Oh
what
right,
I am hearing is not filtered through the computer.
same here. I'm plugged directly into my mic, so because I can hear myself that way. But yeah,
Because when there's a latency, I can't like handle it.
it was funny on the Disney podcast for like a month, like every Friday morning or Thursday night on his end, there'd be like some insane lightning storm coming through, and it was like screwing with the recordings a little bit.
Yeah. I just forgot this guy wrote 2 episodes of Star Trek, and I forgot to put that in
Oh yeah,
here.
yeah, got to include that. I was right though. It was better in battle, right?
Yeah, I think so. It had it really battle should have aimed more for like this level of
Well,
it, you know what I mean?
I was listening to folks talk about the idea that battle was kind of like, okay, let's because Conquest still looks like a movie with the same budget, right? So it's kind of like, okay, let's start aiming this toward TV. It's kind of like a test run to see if they could do it on TV almost, you know? But it was still put out in theaters.
Well, also Rod Serling wrote the treatment for this. It wasn't entirely clear um like how much of his like pilot was left over, and it might have been like none of it really, but he
He
wrote
wrote several scripts for the show, and I
a
don't think any
pilot.
of them, including the pilot, none of them were actually used.
Well, it said that he wrote the treatment and the pilot, which makes me think that like this was another different pilot based on the same treatment,
That
which
could be the
which
case.
tracks because this is a lot like the original movie.
Oh yeah, I did look at the notes. Yeah, I guess we really have to start depending on Apes Wiki for this. So
Oh, I got a lot of IMDb for this, but um
I
I
mean,
I,
you
I
can't
don't
wiki this show, is what I'm saying.
I don't usually wiki things because I feel like that usually leaves a lot more out than
Yeah.
IMDb does. Even though I mean IMDb is still like filled in by people, so it's like it's still fallible, but like there's definitely stuff where the wiki just doesn't get as much
Hmm,
contribution.
right. Okay, Mike, you're back. You want to mic check that?
Check one, check two, check one, check two. That sounds like it's too much.
Um, yeah, now you got a
Hmm.
little echo, but again, the Zoom might actually get rid of some of that. So
Okay.
I don't know, Mark, what do you think?
Um, I guess yeah, he sounds a little more echoey now. What happened? What did you do?
I switched over to my PC and got on, was able
Oh,
to,
yeah,
plug in this mic and
yeah, you sound fine. I mean, you sound bassier, which is
okay.
bass is good.
All right.
Base.
Do I sound okay? Because I'm using a different mic just because I was set up to record with a friend of mine and kept the same mic.
Mm. Yeah, you're coming through fine, I think.
Okay.
So, but
I
I
switched to
should.
my
Bubba.
regular interface, which I am basically just getting another mixer, which I'm going to combine our two inputs for the Tuesday
Yeah,
podcast.
what were you doing last week? Running it through a synthesizer?
I was running it through the mixer that I use for my synthesizers.
Okay, because I thought you fixed it at when you did the story, but that first 5 minutes, I thought I was hearing like a filter sweep in the back. Like
It might be possible that an effect was leaking through or something.
that might have been the case. But yeah, once you started doing the synopsis, it was fine. So the first couple minutes might sound a little funky, and then like your volume levels like were a little weird, but even through the whole thing. But what can you do, you know?
Well, I don't usually that mixer is actually like 25 years old. It just was very expensive 25 years ago.
Mm.
So it probably doesn't like it's probably kind of like lagging in technology in some kind of way that I don't fully understand.
Mm. Let there be light.
Oh, that's gross.
Like Severance.
It's a nice thing. Since I record in the mornings, I get my natural light, you know. I get a little more
I
than that.
All
I
right.
do
Sorry
not
about
like
that. Sorry about that, guys. If you're ready
oh,
for
you're
me,
good.
I am 100% ready for you.
Okay. I
As I
think
say,
we
I have
roll it.
blackout curtains all over all my windows. There's no light in here
Oh,
Okay,
except for
good
the light
deal.
I provide.
I can boom black it out if I want to, but
That's what I got one little lamp in this room because the other option is a ceiling fan above the desk with five like 100 amp light bulbs in it.
you've got to have them in Japan because the sun's up at like 4:30 in the summer.
Jeez.
Oh, the blackouts? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So because we don't do daylight savings times, which in general I think is a good idea, and also we're close to the next timeline, so it's just
Yeah, it
yeah,
depends on it depends on, how askew your time zone is.
and then December, late
Um,
December, it's dark at like just after 4 o'clock, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, time ain't nothing but a number.
Right. Um.
All right. I got my notes up. I got you guys. I got
Oh
good
yeah.
battery
Okay.
life.
Good
All
battery life.
right.
Okay, that sounds better than I just got an hour, so. But okay, Mark, give it a 5 second delay and we will roll into this thing.
All right. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about the show that displaced Space 1999.
Apes, apes, apes. Does this take over for it on TV? Does it take the
Yep.
spot? Well, okay, that's
Well, I'll
amazing.
get into it later.
Oh, you'll get
Yes.
into it later. I was
There
gonna
is
say that'd be some
there is a
serendipity.
connection. There's a
Okay,
direct connection.
which
Anyway,
we knew about and are implicitly following.
Planet of the Apes. This is the pilot Escape from Tomorrow.
That's right. Sorry, it sounded like you were going into trivia, but I guess we should say
Did
I'm
did
Matt,
I
you
intro
are. You
I
didn't
was,
you
I was
didn't
about to ask you if I introduced myself. I'm Mark,
I'm mad
coming back.
again because I always say it second, and then coming back.
Matt's still
Oh, we're
here.
totally like hopscotching dialogue on each other. This is amazing. For Mission Log, the Orville, it's Mike Richards coming back. How are you?
Hey, guys, good to be back. Always happy to be invited to chat with you guys. Highlight of my week.
Um,
Whoa. What was that? Did you hear that?
edit, edit, point. Coming back from the mission log, the Orville podcast. It's Mike Richards. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Always a pleasure to be back here with you guys. It's the highlight of my week whenever you guys scheduled me to ask me to come on here. It's just really enjoyed being here.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
There,
Well, thanks
that
for
that
coming
is some
back from.
flattery. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for coming back for another escape.
Yeah, you're an
This is,
escaper.
it has such a TOS like title: Escape from Tomorrow, All Our Tomorrows, Tomorrow's Yesterday, Escape from Tomorrow. Hey, sure.
Why not
Yep.
escape from tomorrow? Which is, I guess, that's just the series thesis statement, more or less. Which does not happen in this episode. They are not escaping from tomorrow in this episode at all. They're stuck in tomorrow.
I'm guessing they don't, but that's a wild shot in the dark
You
that
don't
they don't
know.
escape
Yeah.
from tomorrow.
Stuck in a moment that you can't get out of, just like Bono.
I mean, we're in 2025. I would love to escape to 2020. Anything, two or
2020?
three,
You don't
two
want to
or
escape to
three.
2020. What's wrong with you?
Why? There are so few years to choose from lately. 2022. Let's just. Anyway.
I would love to. I cannot wait to hear you get into trivia, Mark, just because I have so many questions about, you know, when we are, what we're doing, who we are. I have theories, but I want to hear. I'm really interested in what your research says.
Well, I've got a little bit here. After CBS aired the first three Planet of the Apes films in the fall of 1973, the overwhelmingly positive response led them to greenlight a TV series. As we've seen and heard in previous trivia, there were two more films before that was going to happen. This was set in California rather than New York, which seems to contradict the story, but I'm not really quite sure about that. At the time, most hour-long dramatic TV series would have begun with a movie-length pilot, but CBS refused to pay for it. And skipping one also helped put the series into full production more quickly so it could have a spot on the fall 1974 schedule, which bumped Space 1999 from CBS's schedule, even though head of CBS programming Robert Wood had a handshake deal with ITC to pick that series up. This forced Space 1999 into first run syndication the following year. And you can hear more about that series' ongoing misfortune in previous episodes of this podcast. You could speculate that might have led to the series being killed, which is wild. I'm learning this along with the rest of us. Interestingly, Planet of the Apes was a much bigger success in the UK than in the US, where it was considered a failure because of low ratings, probably due to an 8 p.m. Friday time slot against popular shows Sanford and Son and Chico and the Man. It's like that 8 p.m. death slot goes all the way back to the 70s and maybe before that even. Rod Serling wrote the original treatment for the series, as well as an unproduced pilot and second episode, and an overarching plot involving a magnetic disc, which went unused after this episode. There were also 6 other scripts by various writers that didn't end up produced. Towards the end of the series, Gene Roddenberry was brought in as a consultant to help turn the show around, but it was canceled before any of his ideas were implemented. So that kind of echoes Space 1999 too, except for, he was almost the Freiberger of this series, which makes me think this might have had more of a chance if they'd let it go. Much like Space 1999, 10 of the episodes were edited into full-length movies in 1980, presumably also to get some of that Star Wars money. They were called Forgotten City of the Planet of the Apes, Treachery and Greed on the Planet of the Apes, Life, Liberty, and Pursuit on the Planet of the Apes, and Farewell to the Planet of the Apes. I think those are all like really great indulgent titles. But as for now, this regular length pilot titled Escape from Tomorrow was directed by Don Wise. That's Weis. Born in 1922 in Milwaukee. Like so many in the film industry, he started out as an errand boy at Warner Brothers, and then after a brief stint in the Army, settled into a long directing career. First directing more lighthearted affairs, and then later settling into a mostly TV directing career that includes episodes of The Thin Man, the TV series, Casablanca, the TV series, Batman, the TV series, one episode of Twilight Zone, that being Steel, which you can hear me and Matt talk about on Time Enough podcast, and of course, 4 episodes of Kolchak the Night Stalker. Weiss passed away at the age of 78 in 2000, but before that, he'll be directing one more episode of Planet of the Apes, the TV series. The primary writing credit goes to Art Wallace. There's not a lot in his IMDb bio, but he has a decent number of credits and 2 daytime Emmy wins. You would expect nothing less from the writer of 1,203 episodes of Dark Shadows. He also wrote 2 episodes of Star Trek, Obsession and Assignment Earth. And eagle-eared listeners of this podcast may remember him as the co-writer of the Space 1999 episode Matter of Life and Death. His credits dry up around the end of the 1980s, but before that, he'll be back to write one more episode of this series, and that's next week's episode, The Gladiators. Roddy McDowall is back once again, this time as Galen, who, along with our 2 other leads, appears in all 14 episodes of this series. The producers originally didn't ask him to audition for the series, so he had to reach out himself. It was assumed that he wouldn't be interested because he never had a lead role in the TV series before, so this is his very first. Ron Harper appears as Alan Virden, born in 1933 in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. He won a scholarship to Princeton and then a fellowship to study law at Harvard, but was lured away by an acting career before law school began. He moved to New York to study acting with Lee Strasberg. After some time in the Navy, eventually had his acting career begin in earnest in the 60s. He mostly appeared in TV series, but had a number of recurring roles. You can see him in Beverly Hills 90210, Walker, Texas Ranger, and The Odd Couple 2. He passed away in age 91 from natural causes in 2024. James Naughton is here as Pete Burke. He was born in 1945 and is the older brother of actor David Naughton, who you might know from American Werewolf in London. He will himself make his acting debut in a later episode of this series. But as for James, he started his career off Broadway, which led to on Broadway, and then TV and film. This is one of his earlier credits, but he would later appear in The Birds 2, Land's End, Creepy Carrots, and several different Law and Orders. He is still working as of 2024. Finally, as the ill-fated Pharaoh, who is the only person I've discussed who only appears in this episode, we have Royal Dano. He was well known as one of the best and most quirky character actors, born in 1922 and working from the 40s until right before his death in 1994. You can see him in Night Gallery, Big Bad Mama, Ghouls 2, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Twin Peaks, and of course, you can hear him as the voice of Abraham Lincoln in the Hall of Presidents. And that's the trivia for now. I'm gonna roll out
my dork meter. So I was like, I know Royal Dano for something really specific, and it was him doing Lincoln's voice.
That's
the
great.
Hall of Presidents.
I could not leave that out, man. Oh boy.
Yeah, very, very recognizable face, even under what I'm assuming is, a wig and, some dirt on his face. But yeah, very recognizable in that role.
I would have thought he was kind of doing some old makeup, but he was
older. He was an older man.
In his 50s.
Okay.
They called him out. They said the old man. That's what they called him.
He looked like they were
cool.
playing him up a little older than he actually was, I think.
That's old school Hollywood 50s, man.
So like the beginning of the episode, like the episode opener, I really liked. I like that sort of Buck Rogers in the 25th century look, even though this was predates Buck Rogers in the 25th century, at least the version that I was thinking of. That time warp scene, like that was like that put me in that world. It really did. The first thing I noticed, because I just watched Escape from the Planet of the Apes with y'all, as well as the other ones, was Cornelius and Zero were about 800 years later, 3,900 something. So this is almost 1,000 years before that. So I'm thinking, okay, 1,000 years before that, humans haven't become mute yet, so they can still talk a little bit, but they're obviously second-class citizens, or not citizens really. And it kind of had a vibe of like battle for the Planet of the Apes, right? Where the humans and the apes coexist, even though it's obviously much farther than that. But then Zaius told the story about the astronauts that came 10 years ago. Well, and first of all, Zaius, is that just what they call orangutan?
They got
preacher
all the
guy.
Mendezes, and the
I
mutant humans have Mendez. Something, and keep in mind what is little is it Arno the ape at the beginning of the movie, also from Battle. That was actually the same little man, I guess. But he's chasing his what? His dog.
Yeah,
I took the I had to take the 10-year thing as I mean, I think I know what it is, and I think it's just people they're providing an entry point for people who only watched the first movie.
Yeah. I also
But
think take that infinite regress thing that the Nazi scientist Heinlein or whatever was saying in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and he was talking about kind of suggesting that in that movie it's a new timeline. So it's just here's another painting, here's another timeline. It's a really nice way to just give a big F you to continuity and canon, but why not if you can do that?
yeah. Because I
um
mean, I think clearly there was no 10 years after Taylor, right? Like,
oh no. There's no 10 years after Taylor.
so,
I guess he was a
and
different ship.
sort of the out that they left when they looked at the chronometer. They said 3085, and I think Burke said or later if the thing stopped working. So it could have been later, but not later than Taylor.
No, no, but
unless
maybe
this
that
is a
doesn't happen
timeline where
anymore. Well, I
Earth,
guess Taylor
yeah,
left
where that
before,
doesn't blow
so
up.
Taylor's always
Yeah.
going to show up in the end, which is bad for humanity and apes. But Mark, you want to throw a quick
I
story
mean,
on this one just to catch the folks up?
real quick, I like if multiverse theory is real, then you have to assume that from the point where the atomic bomb is invented, then the number of timelines where Earth is destroyed probably increases a lot.
Hmm.
So, but there's always got to be some where it doesn't, where it hasn't blown up. I don't know. I wonder if those become less frequent as you go along. But yes, I love the intro as well. But summary. Okay, here we are. Three astronauts from the year 1980 have crash landed in the year 3085, and one of them died along the way due to the rules of cryostasis. The two astronauts who remain, Virden and Burke, are discovered by a human named Fallow, who shows them remnants of his civilization, and the men deduce that they are on a future version of Earth, which is now some sort of planet of the apes. A young chimpanzee sees the humans looking around and reports them to the authorities. Counselor Zaius notes that a similar incident occurred 10 years ago and orders for the humans to be brought back alive. He also sends his assistant Galen because he does not trust the gorillas to not kill the humans. And they do kill Fallow when they manage to capture Virden and Burke. Meanwhile, Galen finds the book that Fallow was reading and is in disbelief because he was taught that the apes were always dominant. And clearly they weren't always dominant. When he finds out that Security Chief Urko plans to have the humans killed during a staged escape attempt, Galen helps the humans escape and accidentally kills a guard and is himself imprisoned and sentenced to death. The two astronauts find out about this and they use a grenade to blow him out of ape jail. Now, as fugitives, they stop to try to get the flight record from their ship in hopes that it will get them back home. But while they're doing so, the pursuing apes catch up with them, and after grabbing the magnetic disc inside, they narrowly escape and the ship explodes off screen. The ape and two humans don't know where to go next, so they just start walking.
That is part of 70s budgets, though. We don't see the ship crash, we just hear it, and we don't see it blow up because they could have blown up a cheap model. Why not?
I wasn't clear whether it was rigged to explode to kill their pursuers or if it just happened to blow up or if the apes blew it up.
Hmm.
Did anybody have any feelings about that?
I felt like the apes blew it up just because they wanted it blown up.
I'll second that. That's how I felt.
That it makes sense.
Um,
So what I didn't realize was so the magnetic disc was I remember that so vividly from being a kid that this whole series was kind of about trying to find a way to read that magnetic disc and get home. And you're telling me that never gets visited again?
That's what IMDb says.
okay.
It may I don't know.
I
I
think
haven't
it takes
watched the
the
entire
back
series,
burner a
but
little bit, maybe. I feel like we are going to
yeah.
get more because I just want to see the concept of the show. And keep in mind, Mark and I are just starting off on the show. We
Oh, yeah,
haven't
good
seen it
point.
before, so but it says like I've seen descriptions saying the three are going around the ape world looking for basically a computer that can read the thing. So I feel like maybe it's
Huh.
going to be a back burner issue, but it's like how uh Dr. David Banner is trying to find the solution to and the fugitives looking for the one-armed man, that sort of thing. It doesn't infect every
Mhm.
episode.
Right.
I think that's a really great. That's a great MacGuffin isn't the right word. It's a great plot device to push the story forward. Just give them a
Yeah,
little thing to carry around.
and
Um,
like you mentioned, Matt, the the success of shows like The Fugitive and it's actually later, but I mean, people didn't tune into the Incredible Hulk every week to see Lou Ferrigno pop out of his jeans and fight the bad guy. They kind of wanted to see where that long story arc went, and that's what I think they were trying to do with that magnetic disc.
it's interesting that so many TV series of this time involved like longing, I guess is the best way to put it, where it's like Lost in Space. Um, the Incredible Hulk is one of them. What else? Land of the Lost, where it's like we have to find this thing that will fix our situation, and nobody ever does. And that was kind of a brilliant thing about Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, which is like it was just a throwback to like not much on TV was like that at the time, where it's like just,
The
but
endless
also,
quest.
but yeah, but also that show itself still wasn't super about that because they were doing things like, oh, we're gonna put a bunch of Borg stuff on our ship, and that wasn't happening in shows from this era.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, a show like that, you have some episodes that you could have plugged into any series, and then some
yeah,
that were specifically that. We will see how this one goes. But yeah, Mike, I forgot what we were doing on or off air, but you were mentioning this one having a little, like the title being kind of TOS-y sounding, but kind
Right.
the beats of the story also feels a little TOS-y, which we did talk about doing the original movie, that it's not too many steps to make this like a TOS sort of thing.
No, it's really not. I mean, this could be the planet where, you beam down and, you find that intelligent life is subjugating one another just because of, the might makes right, for lack of a better explanation, and just kind of showing how ridiculous and unfair that is. I think it was Burke, or I forget which one. I forget if it was Starsky or Hutch that made uh, that great speech. Also surprised this predated Starsky and Hutch. I kind of thought that was that a '70s thing? Brunette dude and blonde guy, and they partner up, and that
Chips,
way all the ladies
Dukes of
have somebody to
Hazzard.
look at.
I mean,
Yeah.
really, this should be Starsky and Hutch because they're from the stars, right? Star isn't anyway.
There we go.
I guess
I
they're
like
not. I
that.
guess they're not stars. They're
Very
astronauts,
well.
so one of
Very
them
well
should
done,
be
sir.
Starsky.
Although, Mark, I got to
Um,
call out one thing on your plot summary, that this does not invoke the rule of killing one person at cryo. It seems he was killed by blunt force trauma. I don't think they were under anything.
I don't think part of the rules is that you have to be killed in a specific way.
Okay, I
Yeah.
felt it seemed like in their 1980 ship they maybe went fast enough they didn't need cryostasis or something.
Well,
They
remember,
didn't
like in
even.
the original series, it was like one of them just got depressurized and turned into a weird corpse.
Right. That's what I want to see. But that requires more budget, I guess is the problem. Um, you got that Starsky and Hutch energy, but coming right off of Space 1999, I did see Ron Harper as Alan. Well, Alan, there you go, having a bit of Alan Carter energy.
Yeah, Alan and Tony.
Yeah, these guys would fit right in with those guys. And yeah, it's interesting. The intro to this is so much like the intro to season two of Space 1999. You know what I mean? With the kind of montage and
Hmm.
but yeah, I wasn't expecting there to be direct connections between these series or for it
Yeah,
to feel
you
so
were
much
kind of blowing
nostalgia.
my mind because before we started recording this episode, it hadn't really occurred to me. For more Trek things, I assume you're saving some of the folks in here for later trivia, but
Yes.
we I guess I'll ask Mike then. You noticed the who's the guy behind the Urko makeup? Did you pick up on that?
I did, just from the voice alone, and I thought he did a really good job. Um, yeah, a few other folks in there too. A $6 Million Man recurring guest star showed up, and lots of neat '70s uh, throwback
But yeah,
folks.
having the double whammy of Leonard and Roddy McDowall really does kind of up the acting game in this. It just makes like 70s TV is weird that, I mean, well, some of it's bad acting, some of it's good acting, and some of it's just good acting that's not super charismatic, right? But Leonard and can just nail that for a sci-fi series.
Yep.
Like this is the most fun Roddy or Galen's more fun than Cornelius or Caesar, isn't he?
Well, Galen doesn't have as much baggage, which is, a great call. There's just a lot of great decisions made with how to do this. Part of it is the stakes being lowered to like basically the big scary thing is grenades, which is that's great, man. It's great just like, oh man, something got blown up with a grenade. That's fun. When was it Urko who like had a grenade and was just like, look at this thing they made and just throws it and blows up a door?
Yeah, and
It's
Zayas is
great.
like, thanks for taking that from my office.
It's great.
Just keep a grenade in your office. That's how you be a boss. You keep a grenade in your office with the pin pulled out.
I mean, who knows? We've all had principals that did that probably.
Did they was any of this music reused from Beneath or from Planet of the Apes? I mean, it fits so well with the franchise, and it had that ominous like, man, I'm just gonna hide until these guys go away because my life is in danger feel to it.
The
I'm not
music
sure about
is
that.
actually is a Leo. I don't know how to say his name actually. Leo Schifrin or
It looks like they're
Lelo Schifrin. I just
it's
always seen his
split.
name and never tried to say it.
Lalo Schifrin.
Thank you. That sounds
Um,
better what I was trying to do. He issued in October 1974 to publicize the show. He released a single called Ape Shuffle. We're gonna have to look for that.
oh man, wow.
Enter the Dragon theme. He did that. Okay. Yeah, yeah. He did. He's the. I don't. I mean, it's probably like a Twilight Zone thing where he doesn't score every episode, but it seems like they have some notable firepower in their musical department. Again, like
It was
Space
good.
1999 did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Can't
And
get Goldsmith to a TV show at this point, so.
I kind of missed the guy who is credited as the creator of the series, someone named Anthony Wilson, who also worked on the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, because this is the point where Arthur P. Jacobs leaves well this Earth, isn't it? So he's not involved
He
with the
left.
show. Yeah.
Yes. He died he died young. He died when he was 51.
Yeah, he died a few
Actually,
weeks after Battle came out.
Wow.
no. The new guy died in 78. The new guy is like the guy who stepped in is about to die in like a few years.
Oh, Ape
Um,
Curse.
yeah, Ape Curse. Um, the last the last thing he is a producer on is called Computer Side, the
Okay.
CIDE.
That's right,
Oh,
right. Okay. We're all processing here. So
It's great.
yeah, because I was
I,
thinking like Kirk would be guilty of computer side on several occasions if it was spelled differently.
yes,
Mm. Those are the most fun moments of it, aren't, isn't it?
we all love a good computer side. I mean, some more of that should be happening now, really. Um, yeah, story editor on 83 episodes of Lost in Space.
I
Like
was
that might be all of the episodes of Lost in Space.
for computer science on the internet, just on a tangent. I saw this article on CNN like several days ago where, and I was it was in the headlines. So I guess it's not a dirty word, but it was a guy talking about the enshittening of the internet, and that's his term for like free services start to become garbagey and not give you what they were originally going to do. Hello, Meta, that sort of thing.
I hate
And
to be
just
the guy, but it's actually called enshittification.
thank you. Okay, you read the article too.
Oh, I'm obsessed with the concept.
Anyway, I've been throwing it out on every podcast because I'm like, well, it's a CNN headline. I can say that, right? Although I got it wrong, so I guess now I was just being obscene.
Well, it's like why sometimes things don't work. That you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
things that we use to make podcasts sometimes don't work because they might be free, sort of, but not really.
Right.
Right.
I pay for the Zoom.
Yeah, you do. But the thing is that most people don't. So
Right.
it's not good.
Mike, you asked about things that did come from the movies. They do use establishing shots of the Ape City for Central City. Some of the horseback stuff. I was noting someone noted a continuity error that only Urko rides a white horse, but someone else is riding a white horse. I don't care. It's because they took that from previous movies. For some of those
Mhm.
wide money shots and establishing shots, they're like, again, if they can't show you the ship crashing and blowing up, then they're not going to have wide shots of the Ape City that are from this production.
I was very curious about the wind swirling uh, before the ship crashed, like as if a helicopter were landing. And they probably had the wind machine that made it look like a helicopter was landing from other productions, but they probably didn't have a wind machine that made it look like the spaceship was crashing, which is really what they needed for that shot.
They just drop a model at the very least. There we go. Film that.
But yeah, good to see that prop back again, apparently for the last time.
Oh, a little bit of a food corner. I thought they were eating oranges, but it's some weird new kind of fruit. So I like that they had like weird future fruit.
Yeah.
Again, great decisions.
Yeah, I mean that's what is it? Cavendish bananas. Like apparently we none of us know what a good banana tastes like because they don't exist anymore.
I,
Right.
I'm not sure
No, Cavendish is
because
what we
have you
have now,
seen
isn't it? It's a different one that we don't have. Anyway, go ahead, Mark.
that's
Sorry.
what banana candy is based on, the bananas that no longer exist.
That's what
But
I've
I
heard. Yeah.
I like bananas that do exist. I think if you look at have you seen like pictures of bananas from like 100 years ago where they're all kind of anemic looking? Like we do have just thicker, healthier fruit now.
I've got a thick
And
Well,
banana.
we don't have to eat red delicious apples anymore.
Mm. Well,
So
in
that's great.
Japan, we got a whole different realm of apples right here. So,
Do
um,
you mean better apples? Do you have better apples than
they're
us?
just kind of. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say yes, and they're better too. But they're different. They're a little different in Japan. Fuji apples or whatever is definitely different than a Macintosh apple or something like that.
We have Fuji apples here. Maybe you have different Fuji apples.
Yeah, I don't know. I
in
yeah,
Japan, they just call them apples.
I only
Yeah,
know so much about
exactly.
fruits. Yeah. Well, no, that we do have several. There's Almori apples, Fuji apples. There's Nagano here in Nagano. There's a lot of apple orchards like near here. So maybe I do know more about fruit than I thought. But as far as bananas, I think I've already stated. I just want choco bananas. It's not that I
Ah,
dislike bananas. It's like I can't stand the smell of banana peels. So if you take the banana completely
Mm.
from the peel, I might be okay. And then if you cover in chocolate and sprinkles, I'm even better.
so you never did that thing where from the anarchist cookbook where you take 100 banana peels and dry them out and grind them up and smoke them?
Oh God, no, that sounds horrible.
I heard that was fake.
That's what Donovan told you to do, right? They call it mellow yellow.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
And how does that add to anarchy?
Because you're high.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, if it worked.
It probably does not. I think I own a copy of that. I just don't know where it is.
Mm.
Maybe
So,
someone stole it, which would be fair, I guess.
how do we feel about humans in this particular version of apes, where they just seem to be kind of like, I guess they're like idiocracy dumbasses at this point? Is that how we should rate them here? Like they're still talking,
So,
but they're not. They
so I
can't
was
make
watching.
stuff.
Yeah. So I'm watching Al my balls and a spaceship landed on my near my cave. Again, that reminded me of Battle. And I was like, okay, so this is like Battle, but I'm like, oh wait a minute, I just watched the opening, and it said it's a little after the year 3000, so it's kind of like between Battle and the original film. I don't know, man. I thought it was a cool vibe, but I think they probably should have, I don't know, maybe made it closer to the time of Battle. Maybe make it before that, the year 3000, or it just seemed a little bit too far away to still have that dynamic going on. But I don't know.
Yeah, the
I,
bookend John Huston scenes in Battle, I think are supposed to be 2600, so maybe
yeah.
like 400 years before this, which does have humans that still, I mean, at that point, I guess the idea is that they're supposed to be almost equal, which is not the case here. So
Yeah.
I guess it
Okay.
is a different timeline again because they have dogs and cats in this one, but
So the bookend when they're reading about the time of the battle.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they
was
put that
2600 or
as
so.
26. It's so fun to think
Yeah,
about the dates in here just because they are so whack and it's on such a big
yeah,
scale and it doesn't make
right.
much sense, but it's
Yeah. So 1200 years later, humans are mute, but 400 years later, they're still hanging in to a on a to
but
an
they only
extent.
say dumb things. They say dumb things. If they can build a grenade, that's like amazing.
They get
Yeah.
themselves killed.
Man, that
Um,
was that was one eclectic book they found. It was like, okay, chapter one, cityscapes, chapter two, machinery, chapter three, gorillas in a zoo.
Yeah, there's another one to New York 2535. That's another one to completely
Yeah.
confuse you because that shouldn't be there. Where did that come from? That's from a whole different show and timeline.
Yes, good point.
We got mutants living under New York in the 26th century in the movie timeline.
Yeah.
there's so much to like here. I don't want to nitpick, but if I had to nitpick, yeah, they could have used something else besides it's more astronauts. Like this is the
Yeah.
third
Mhm.
time it's astronauts, I
Yeah.
guess.
I guess
Um,
they're like time dilation or something. Again, they could have done the idiocracy thing, I suppose, but
but no, what you do is just have a bunker somewhere where humans just did the Fallout thing and were kind of normalish, and then somebody gets thrown out of the bunker. I mean, it's not that hard to write yourself out of that. But the other thing I would nitpick about is there are a couple of times that are just kind of TV cliches where someone says something and it goes dun dun dun, zooms in on their face. But that was more charming and fun than it was like actually bad.
I think that's
So
the thing about both this so far and Space 1999, especially season two. It's very likable and it's kind of fun to nitpick it. It's not, I mean, you don't sit there as an angry geek nitpicking. It's just like, like there's corners cut. They had like an hour to do this. It's like the creativity's there, even if there's like a lot of wonky stuff, you know?
I 100%, as an old school Star Trek fan, watching it in, first run or in syndication in the 70s, it was as much fun to just nitpick and just laugh at a lot of the silliness, and then kind of get into the nitty gritty of the messaging too. I think you can definitely do both things, and I think we all have to, I think what you're doing, Mark, was very very respectful when you're like, it was too much fun to really nitpick. This was a lot of fun. I'm confused about a couple of things, but I also get it. They wanted to get a series out. Um, you got to kind of split the baby sometimes and say, all right, this was that, this was this. We're going to take the best elements of both and make a series. But when I got done with this, I was like, that was cool, and I want more. And I'm curious to see what happens and why we only get as many episodes out of it as we do. But after watching the pilot, man, I want to watch more.
Yeah, it seems like um just even though they are taking cost-cutting things, it was still an extremely expensive TV series. I mean, once you're putting a dozen people into ape costumes every week, you have now, and I guess some weeks it's probably just going to be Galen. I'm assuming they go into like a human enclave or
no,
something, and
our two astronauts are in all 14 episodes.
right.
So I mean, it's um, I think it just got fireflied. Like it's stupid, like studio politics. And if the movies weren't so good, then people would be more angry about this getting canceled. It's like Star Trek didn't have if like Wrath of Khan had come out before Star Trek, the original series, then people might not have been as mad about that getting canceled. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
it was just considered as sort of lesser than, but Matt and I think both agree that this is kind of better than Battle is, and I think it's because Battle had to put a battle in it, and it couldn't really do a battle as well as it wanted to, and it was trying to reach really hard to make that the centerpiece. Like Conquest had all that riot stuff, which is its own thing, and that definitely
Mhm.
And it just
felt
stayed that
bigger than
one setting for the entire movie, right? They never leave their, college or their Century City quad, you know?
ape. What is it? Ape processing.
Yeah, it's all just like
Yeah.
right there in that movie. Yeah, I did just to talk about the astronaut thing. I did write random astronauts seem to be raining on the apes like rain. That's a terrible metaphor I wrote there. Okay.
It's
So,
Raining Men.
okay,
It
let's just
came out
see.
around now, right?
Yeah, a few years later, but yeah, a few notes here. Destruction is not quotes, excuse me. Destruction is not fantasy. That's a fun one. No information is useless in 2025. You could certainly argue that point though, as you get weird
Uh,
AI. I don't
there,
think this was a real quote. Did someone actually say you have the right to remain ape, or did I just write that?
what? I don't
You have
think
the right to
so.
remain ape.
I think that sounds like a note you would write yourself.
Oh yeah, this quote I'm pretty sure is not in the show where I wrote, "I can't do nothing for you, man. Flavor Flav's got problems of his own." I think that's when Pharaoh got
Yeah.
killed.
I think when Galen was getting arrested for having the book or being told that it's a crime that could cost him his life, that you might have said you have the right to remain ape.
That must be where I wrote that. That seems about right.
Yeah, he did the nice. It was a nice callback to the Cornelius accidentally murdering the guard. It was like the same thing happened again.
See, that's
Yeah, and it was he was really, I thought Roddy McDowall was really good at this, not just playing the mechanics of playing a chimpanzee, which he obviously has down so well at this point, but just at this point he demonstrated a curiosity that I think was even more so because in the original movie Zero was the curious one and he was kind of the whoa, we don't want to get involved in this, right? Like that's like this is we got a lot to lose if we do that. And this one he just played, he had this kind of uh, maybe not naive but the scientific curiosity and or just intellectual curiosity, I guess, that just really made me love that character of Galen.
yeah. I guess they have
Yeah.
kind of combined. I'm curious. We don't get in this episode, but is Galen ever going to have that intensity of, Cornelius being disgusted by the boxing match, or Caesar, just ordering the apes to revolt through basically, facial gestures, which is doubly amazing since he's wearing prosthetics.
I honestly think they're doing this as a clean break, a new character, which is the right move. Even though there, I left this out of the trivia, but there was discussion of just bringing Cornelius and Zero back, like going to their timeline and location at some point, but then that never happened. I don't think that was Gene Roddenberry's idea.
No, I
It
will. Yeah,
does
I
not
think
sound like something you would think.
no, the way they do it here, I mean, Kim Hunter was very happy to do Escape and then never do Apes again, so she wasn't going to do this. So I think the way it ended up is probably the best way.
Well, there is someone credited as Zira. I don't. It might be. It must be a different Zira.
Yeah, they do
It's a
like to
different
reuse
actor.
names. We'll get there. We'll see what
Mhm.
happens. But yeah, Roddy just gets to be more charming here, which, because the first time I ever saw him, knowing who it was probably actually Fright Night. I mean, I'd seen
Mm-hmm.
Apes before that, but that's where I was like, oh, because when you're a kid watching the apes, you're like, oh, there's apes on screen, and you don't think about the actors, right? So I first really thought about him in Fright Night, where he does a little more like, I guess weirdly charming, which you get here.
Did I also forgot to point out the trivia that Galen was the name of the scientist who worked with Zira and Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Like that's who he's named after.
Oh, okay, there we go.
That guy didn't have a whole lot, and I don't know if they ever called him by his name in the film, but
No, it's like how Dr. Milo is a bit of a bust, right?
yeah, poor Doctor Milo.
Yes.
Oh man, yeah, and yeah, I'm already covered. But yeah, poor Dr. Milo.
Now, I guess I'll start throwing our regular questions, and I don't know if this is going to stick through the series or not, but we'll at least start on this one, thinking about how much of it is sci-fi fun and how much is existential dread. I mean,
Oh,
compared to the original
hold on.
movie.
Before you do that, I have a
Yeah.
correction.
Okay.
It's Kira. There's a Kira, not a Zira.
Oh, okay. Kira's on Deep Space Nine, right?
So yeah, maybe it's her. Maybe
Okay,
it's
this show's going to take
Kira
a trip to Deep Space Nine.
from from Bajor is going to show up on the
Then
Planet of
a
the Apes.
visitor's going to show up at
So
like
yeah,
age
there is not a
12.
Zira. I saw that and my brain made it Zira for some reason, but no, there will be a
I
Kira,
can see that happening.
of course.
But Mark, you want to continue with the dread versus fun scale?
Dread versus Fun scale. feel maybe a little guilty assigning it this, but I feel like it was sort of like 20% dread and 80% fun. But I was just me having fun.
Okay. There's some fun to be had here. So, Mike, you had a little shrug there. Not an angry shrug, but you were like, huh. I saw you bounce when you gave
No,
the
I was
number.
surprised.
Are
So,
you trying to pit us
I
against
started
each
to think
other?
about no, no, yeah, yeah, we're gonna fight. We're gonna be like we're gonna be like Stephen A. and everybody else on Sports Center. I feel like if I was in the position of the astronauts, this would be like 100% existential dread. So that was kind of the point of view I was looking at it from. As an audience, as a consumer of this media, man, I think I was still somewhere about 80% existential dread. Like I find the combination of those apes on horseback, the setting sun, the weapons that they're carrying, and the music to be absolutely horrifying. Now, I probably saw five of these movies by the time I was seven. Um, so I think they just kind of live rent free in my head. I was picking up on a lot of existential dread. But then I think about, what you're saying is like, cool sci-fi fun. The intro was cool. Grabbing the disc out of the ship, seeing that prop again of the ship was fun also. So yeah, Evan, hearing what you said, I think I'll probably make it maybe 65 existential dread and 35 uh, sci-fi fun. But it was fun, man. It was fun. I think that's probably going to slide up. And I started thinking about the hot crazy scale. You know what I mean? So if you have too much existential dread without enough sci-fi fun, like are you going to enjoy that? Or if you have just too much sci-fi fun without any existential dread, is that going to mean anything? So something for me to think about before we meet up again, if I get a chance to do another one with you.
It's
Yeah, we'll
like
see how the show
that.
goes. I'm a little closer to Mark's. I was a little more on the dread because of the imminent threat of execution at several moments in the show for our astronauts and for Galen. So, but in the end, I'm like 30 dread, 70 fun, just because we do get colorful pops. People in monkey suits, which is always the ace in the hole for 70s apes over the more recent apes for me. Um,
Well, this wouldn't happen as much as I would really like a Planet of the Apes series now. No one's going to tolerate like a step back from the expensive mocap that they're doing uh, for the movies, and I don't think that there'd be a series greenlit that was just all CGI characters.
mm.
So it's sort of stuck right now, and I don't, and I
Animation. We're gonna do the animated show after this one, so maybe that's you.
yeah,
You do the photorealistic animation show. Like most
or
of the live action in quotes Disney movies, right? They're just kind of like weird gloppy CGI with a few folks on in the volume or on green screens or something.
I mean, or
Mhm.
give it an anime.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it would work great as an anime. I mean, geez. How much
Yes.
anime is influenced by this type of sci-fi where it's like
Yeah, I think the book would work phenomenally uh, in an anime series.
Yeah, I think the animated series does tend to push the more technologically advanced apes of the book when we get to the animated series. I don't know if you've seen we haven't seen that one yet, but that it seems that one has a real cult following even more than this live action show. So
we were
we'll
both kind of sweaty about doing this series because we were worried it wasn't going to be good. So we were both kind of extremely relieved that it was good.
yeah,
Like
yeah, we're going
we
through the
didn't do it.
movies. Like, I hope this isn't it. And well, again, I'm assuming the animated one's going to be good. But yeah,
Well,
so far the live
maybe
action's fun.
maybe this will be the jolt that Disney needs to put it on Disney Plus because it's not available streaming there and they own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no streaming anywhere except for Daily Motion.
Well, past this, they're all on YouTube. It's just the first episode that's not on YouTube.
Mhm.
So, um,
Good.
how?
Also, bananas drugs is definitely fake.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard that quite a long time ago.
That might
Um,
be the very reason right there why Zero loathes bananas.
Yeah,
she
she's like, I
Just
tried
she
to
don't get her
she
smoke
high.
tried
them.
it. Yeah. But I guess in
Sh
those future apes don't get inebriated though, because grape juice plus threw her off.
I could 100% see Zira and Cornelius hanging out, and she's like smoking weed, and he's like, "What are you? Aren't you worried we're not going to be able to? What if we have to go to work?
Ah, it's fine.
It's fine."
Well, how many bananas for this episode? This escape from tomorrow. Did I say it right? I don't even know now.
Escape from Tomorrow. I'm
Yeah, good. I said it right.
giving it 5 bananas. Um, I don't know why. I'm giving it
Okay.
5 bananas.
You're
I'm
very
giving it five
close to
bananas.
You're getting very close to what I was thinking. Here's the thing, it doesn't have the totally like big wide desert shots that make the movie cinematic. I'm giving it 4 bananas and that one of those weird future fruits that they get. That's not in there.
Okay.
4 bananas and a weird future fruit. That's what just like if you compare it to the best of the movies, I mean it doesn't bat up to the original or Conquest, but the future fruit's something new, right? So let's
Yeah.
give it one of those as well.
Do we have no definition of what a banana means,
Nope.
correct?
Nope. It's just 1 out of 7 or one to
Okay.
seven.
1 to 7. Oh wow. Yeah,
Seven turns out it's a bunch.
I was thinking 10. I was thinking I'm gonna go 4 bananas as well. I thought it was good. I thought it did everything a pilot should do. Kind of recapped the movie franchise. It introduced the characters. It put them in a setting where they have not only challenges but a long term goal. I was thoroughly entertained by this, and like I said, I want to watch more. I specifically remember watching the pilot as a kid. I don't think I remember much more than that. So I really do want to kind of follow along with you guys on this journey and rediscover Planet of the Apes, the series.
Right on.
And yeah, I want to give it not the full amount of bananas, partly because this does what a pilot should do, which I am excited to see what happens next. I'm thinking that I'm excited to see what the Gladiators is about. Are they going to
The
fight a bunch of
Gladiators.
gorillas? Yeah, I mean that sounds great. Um, so yeah, it's damn. I hope I don't come away from this just being extremely sad that it was canceled, like with the Space 1989. But
No,
that
we
might
will
be the
see.
case.
I just went plopping straight into the questions, but if anyone else had like a big point or a little point they wanted to throw out, my only thing is the grenade. I'm looking at my notes here and I'm like, I thought the grenade looked more like a thermal detonator that Princess Leia shows up with in Return,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I guess that's
Maybe
a
this is where
grenade
she
in
got
its
it.
own way, but yeah,
But
it
there's
looked
only
pretty.
one way to say thermal detonator, and then you have to channel C3PO to do that.
Mm.
Do they
Yeah,
say grenade in
Yeah.
this?
you think so? Because I wrote things like how difficult is grenade technology.
I think the boys do. I think Burke and Zerwin. What's the other guy's name?
Bearden. Yeah, it's not
Bearden.
easy.
Okay. Yeah. I guess James Franciscus got offered the role too, and he said thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, he did.
I
Uh,
think I kind of glad he didn't do this.
they don't. Yeah, they don't. They don't need to anchor it that much in the films because that's just too distracting. I mean,
What?
he's great. Don't get me wrong, but
I didn't
Yeah, I
know
mean,
that, but I did write in my notes. Well, Franciscus would have cost at least $50, so they didn't get him.
I think they already had one actor, cast in a different character. And I think if now you do that with two, it probably would have added to the when are we? What are we doing? Where are we?
Also, just having that
Factor.
one, having one iconic guy just to anchor the show, you don't need another one. Bring in Mark
Yeah.
Lenard at that point.
yeah,
Yep. I did like a couple of conversations. One about independence and freedom, with the Americans being apparently American astronauts because independence and freedom. Of course, no information is useless, which was good. The conversation that Burke was having with Zayas on I believe I think it was during a trial or something like that. I believe all sentient life should treat each other and live as equals. Murmur, murmur, murmur. But those were good kind of good ideas, and I'm glad they were brought forth, and it wasn't just uh, we're going to chase you and you have to run away story.
Yeah, I was about to say this could easily be endless chase scenes. So having a few, point piece of dialogue is very helpful.
Mhm.
If you don't have a big budget, shore up your writing a bit.
And are you guys? Do you even know? Have you looked forward? Were these all hour long episodes?
Well,
Yes.
45 minutes in that way. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
this was
Okay.
not a extended one. So I think the last two kind of make a two-parter if I'm or well maybe they just got
Okay.
put together into a movie is why I'm saying that. But
Yeah, I was fully expecting a 30-minute, aka 22 to 25-minute episode when I tuned into this. So I was
that's going to be
surprised to
the
see an hour.
animated one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
animated one's going to be that. So we are kind of looking at a Star Trek followed by animated series sort of situation,
Mhm.
except that the movies all came before.
Yep, is your 47 minutes for some reason. I guess
40s, they
ads
like that
weren't as
number. That's
long
that's a good
back
sci-fi
then.
number. 42 or 47, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see anything that would that is specifically listed as a two-parter,
Okay.
but
I might
but
have just gotten thrown off because they've been recombined into five movies.
but I'm gonna say that these are some great episode titles. And I'm very curious about what comes next. There's like The Trap.
I bet that's about a trap.
It's a
That's the
trap.
one. I think that's the one they combined this one with, by the way, in the quote unquote movies.
Okay.
Um, I guess we'll wind this one down then. Hey Mike, you're up and running on your podcast right now, aren't you?
Yeah, we're dropping 4 episodes. I think number 3 comes out this week, where we're just kind of revisiting what's going on with the Orville, and we've chatted with JP from Talking the Orville, Ben Robinson from Master Replicas, who is very generously sponsoring a giveaway of everything they've made with the Orville. So I believe it's the LG, the small size tiny starship Orville, the new Pterodon, which I just got mine the other day. It's gorgeous, as well as like a couple of krill ships and a couple of Kalon ships. So go to masterreplica.com and sign up for the newsletter, as long as it's before the end of January, and you should have a chance to win that. And we've got Andre Bormanis, just had a great conversation with him. Andre was science advisor during the Berman era, wrote for um, quite a few episodes for Enterprise, worked on Threshold with Brandon Braga, and is a producer and writer on the Orville. It's just a fascinating Renaissance guy, really. Scientist, engineer, political science, musician. Can't say enough about him. That episode drops, um, but should be out by the time this episode drops.
All right.
Nice. I'm
As
entering that. I'm entering that damn contest. You all have to fight against me for these chips.
As for us, we do a whole bunch of podcasting over here. You can find that on podcastius.org. And even Mike shows up on a fair amount of those, Films and Filth, where we talk about highly rated and lowly rated IMDb user rated films. I did that didn't come out quite how it was supposed to. Time Enough Podcast, we talk about the Twilight Zone with you fellas here and there. And my brain stopped working. That's good enough for today. Okay.
Yep. Keep walking.
Walk somewhere. Gotta walk somewhere.
Walk hard. That was inappropriate.
Walk this way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's at least more temporally appropriate.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and hit a stop on this recording.